Hi everyone, my name is Haley and I am the health coach for Kanema Fitness, and I'm coming to you today to talk a little bit about heart health. So heart health from a health coach. And the big question we are going to be asking for today is, how are you going to improve your heart health? Now, this might be a question that doesn't even matter to you. You're like, my heart's healthy, that's great. No need to worry about it, Haley. Awesome. Maybe you're someone who's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness for a workshop like this. I cannot wait to learn more about how to improve this. I'm super concerned. I need some change. And maybe you're a little more in the middle. And it definitely depends on your age, right? When we're younger, we don't really worry about this stuff as much. They might not be a thing to worry about, but I would still encourage, those who are a little bit younger, maybe this isn't anything of your concern yet. Don't make it a concern in the future. So definitely take something from this if you can. And maybe it's confirmation that you're doing the right things. Maybe it's something where you're like, oh man, I should think about doing that a little more consistently. We all know that it's easier to start things when the younger you are to form habits. It's not impossible to do when you're older, but if the sooner you can solidify and make a concrete habit in your life, the sooner, like, it's easier. And right, you don't think about it or anything like that. When you're older, that's when it's kind of hard. You've got a lot going on, there's everything's more complex, and it's harder to fit stuff in, as far as new habits into your day. You're just not used to it. You've gone a lot of years without it, and so not impossible to do, but definitely if you're on the younger side of this audience, consider having taking some of these tips with you, and maybe consider starting some habits. If you're on the older side, you might be a little more concerned about this. Again, whether it's an actual problem or not, it's always a worry that we have. Why do we want heart health? Because we want to live a long time, right? And see a lot of things and do a lot of things. And so this might be a little bit more of like, okay, I want to know how to improve my heart health through this. So whoever you are, as I always say through all my workshops, it's very broad, and I often don't know who I'm talking to or speaking to directly. But if there's anything that speaks to you, definitely run with it and roll with it. If it's something that's just overwhelming to you, or like you just don't get it, or maybe it's not even important to you either. For example, one of the things I'll tell you to do, oh yeah, you should change this. If you don't care about it, then it's not going to mean much, right? If I tell you, oh, you should change this, but it's not something that's important to you, then I wouldn't even consider it. Find the things that are important to you, the things that stick with you. Even if it's just something you take away with learning about today, I hope it will help you in some sort of way. So this is from the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. A lot of what I got from today is from that website, and those types of websites, I definitely do a lot of research when it comes to like different websites and stuff that I give as sources to my clients. This is something that a website that did a really good job on translating education to a lay audience. So for example, if you're not an exercise expert, if you don't have a lot of education in nutrition, it definitely translates all of that science very well into someone who is just trying to learn how to eat healthy. They don't need to know the science behind it or anything like that. But and that's just an example there. But this is a really great website that I will let you guys know. You can just Google this as well, the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, and you will find their website. So how do I lower my risk for heart disease? That is the age-old question. It's the #1 killer in the U.S. for both men and women. By the way, just so everybody knows, it used to be cancer and not anymore. So they gave us 7 points, and we'll go a little bit more into all those today. So they are eating healthy, getting active, staying at a healthy weight, quitting smoking or staying away from secondhand smoke, controlling your cholesterol and blood pressure, drinking alcohol in moderation, and managing stress. So again, we're going to go a little bit more into all of those. Eating healthy, what is that? How do we get more physically active? What is a healthy weight for myself? Quitting smoking and staying away from secondhand smoke. I feel like it's a little self-explanatory, but we'll go into it. Controlling your cholesterol and blood pressure. Do you need to? What is it? How do I know I need to? Drinking alcohol. What is moderation? And what does managing stress look like? So we're going to touch on a lot of those. Some of them are a little bit more complex than others, but feel free to pause or and anything and write some stuff down. Maybe think of questions as well. My email will be at the end, so you can always submit these questions to me should you have any. So we'll start with eating healthy. What the heck is that? So the #1 source that I give my clients when it comes to this, because diet can be very complex, it is myplate.gov. Super easy to remember. You can write it down if you want, but they're going to give you this picture right here and right below that second link. And then, by the way, this second link is from the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. That is basically where I pulled a lot of information today, especially like different screenshots and stuff. And so you can just look that up as well, health.gov, and you'll find a lot of resources for all of these things that we're talking about. So myplate.gov, super easy, super layperson friendly. This used to look a little different back in the day. If you remember the food pyramid where they would section off foods in a physical pyramid, this is more visually friendly now. They've decided that giving it to us on a plate is a little more easier to understand, and I agree with that. But when you go to the homepage, this picture will be right there, and you can click on each of these 5 food groups, right? And you can learn a little bit more about it. So I just use protein for this because I talk to clients all the time about protein, whether I'm coming at them as a health coach or a personal trainer. I have a background in nutritional science as well. These are all protein is almost the number one thing that comes up every single time when it comes to diet. They know they want to get more, and oh my gosh, Haley, I'm just so sick of chicken though. I cannot eat it anymore. This is a great website to go to. Down below, you'll see there's different links for how much you need, and the nutrition and health benefits. There's vegetarian choices as well. So there's plant-based and animal-based proteins. And there, if you want to take a quiz, let me know how you do. I've never done it before, but would love your reviews on it. And there's also tip sheets too of like how to make all of those proteins, how to fit them into your everyday meals, how to mix them up with all of the other food groups that we need. And so yeah, that is the number one thing I send to people is here's an entire list of everything that you can use, and it can count as protein, and whether it's animal-based or plant-based. And so hopefully that is helpful for you to know. Great place to get started. My overall advice when it comes to diet goals, it's very complex and it's variable person to person. But just pick one thing at a time to set a goal on. We always think that we can do a million things at once, and sometimes we can do a couple of things at once, right? I can text someone while also listening to someone talk to me, and I know what that person is saying. I'm also typing everything out perfectly. That's great. When it comes to diet goals, oftentimes we think that we can do the exact same thing, and we can pick up like 12 different goals at once, and then do that and be good to go. And I'll say that if you would just pick one thing at a time, and let's say you just nail it for 3 months, right? You say for 3 months, I'm going to get enough protein based on my age and my gender. I'm going to get enough grams of protein in every single day. You've got it down after 3 months. All right, now I'm going to start varying the types of protein that I use. I'm going to start mixing it, with a little bit of, healthier whole grains, or maybe you need more veggies. Now that's month 2, or sorry, the next 3 months. Let's say every 3 months you pick up a new habit and you really stick to it and it's really solid and it's never going away in your life. That's 4 habits in a year, right? Versus like how many of us have tried again and again and again and again to do something or a lot of different things at the same time. Something ends up failing. We stumble, we get discouraged about it, we fall back into our old habits, and that just keeps happening, right? Day by day, week by week, maybe month by month. And maybe you can accomplish one of those goals, right, at the end of the year, but 1 versus 4, like think about the longevity of things. Nothing of this is an instant fix. We're talking about establishing real lifestyle changing habits, and that takes your whole life. It's not one and done. So I always tell people, and whether they listen to me or not, I'm not sure, but often clients come back to me and I can really tell if they've listened or not by just picking one goal. And so just pick one thing at a time and go from there. Activity. So this is from the American Heart Association. These numbers have been out there for a long time. It's proven through and through that these numbers are going to improve your heart health. Again, make changes towards it. And again, I will say that if you have very severe heart health, like maybe a lot of stuff is in danger here, just doing this isn't gonna cut the mustard. But it does still show significant changes in your heart health. And so definitely don't sell it short, but just know that it's not like the only thing that fixes all your heart health problems. So how active are you supposed to be? You're supposed to get at least 150 minutes of moderate physical activity per week, or at least 75 minutes of vigorous activity per week. And this is really this is kind of a little bit easier to understand in examples of, because people are like, well, what's moderate versus vigorous? And I always use walking and running as a very easy example, right? Takes you maybe 20 minutes to walk a mile, how long is it going to take you to run? Probably about 10 minutes. That's a pretty average pace for someone just kind of doing their thing and whatnot. And so again, that cuts it right in half, 10 versus 20. Same thing here, where we don't have a lot of time in our days. Everyone knows that. That's always what we hear. And so maybe there's some days where you have a little bit more to give, and that's great. Maybe go for a little bit more moderate, maybe get a walk or so in a day. But if you don't have a lot of time, you really don't need a whole lot of time to get that vigorous physical activity in per week. And both of those numbers give you heart health benefits. So just picking one or the other based on your life situation. I will say too that if you do the math with doing this day by day, everyone's availability varies day by day. So it's not like you need exactly this much every single day. But if you evenly cut it all 7 days a week, the moderate physical activity is about 20 minutes a day, and then the vigorous is about 10. So again, depending on how much time you have in your day, think to yourself, like, can I get 20 minutes a day in, or can I get 10 minutes a day? And I just got to amp it up a little bit more, make it a little more intense. I will say, and I always tell people this, that 1% of your day is about 14 minutes and some seconds. I'm forgetting the exact number of seconds, but that's about 15 minutes a day, right? Rounding it up. Can you give 15 minutes? That's 1% of your day. Can you give it to your physical activity? And it's just 1%. A lot of times people think, what's 1%? It's like, oh, it's probably like 2 minutes. It's like, it's 15 minutes, okay? And that is, you can do a lot in that, right? You can satisfy your physical activity requirements for that day. And so definitely just think, like, can I give 1% of my day? More or less, because, you know, the 20 versus the 10. And physical activity, literally, it's just anything getting your heart rate up above resting level. So right now, here I am at rest in a chair. If I've got to get up and go to the bathroom, I have to walk there. So that means my heart rate has to go up in order to make all of that happen, among other things that are happening when you're walking. But my heart rate has to go up to get more blood to the muscles that are working to get me walking. And so my heart rate is above resting level. That is physical activity. And so there's lots of different ways that you can fit your physical activity requirements in per day. That's often what I do with my clients, is I just sit them down. We make a list of how they can be more active without even stepping foot into a gym. So maybe it's parking farther away in the parking lot. Now you got to walk into the store. It's going to take you longer. You can drink more water, because water is something that makes you go to the bathroom more. Now you got to get up and walk more. It's taking stairs versus the elevator. It's taking no escalators. It's, you know, choosing to walk or bike to work. You know, it just, again, choosing anything. You don't have to do all of them, but it could just depend on your life. Just choose something that's going to get you moving more throughout the day. It doesn't mean you have to go to the gym every single time. So for ideal body weight, this is something that is super easy. You can Google it. There's a number of different formulas you can see here on the right side. And these are just different people that have come up with different formulas. And as you can see, as the years went on, they, you know, found something that was better. They believed it to be better, but it doesn't change. It's always based on your height, your gender, and your age. And so those formulas vary because some of them take into account more your gender, more your height, more your age, you know, things like that. And so this is something that I won't spend too much time on, but you can seriously just Google something like an ideal body weight calculator, and it'll always ask you for your age, your gender, and your height, and then calculate. It's super easy. And then this is your result. I did this based on my my statistics, I guess. And even if, like, with the formula, you know, a lot of people are like, well, like, what's the right one to do? You can see that this body range here, this body weight range here, we've got 149 to 153. That's not even 10 pounds. Okay. It's just over, it's barely even that. And so I wouldn't worry too much about like what the exact number is that's correct. And then even this BMI range, which is just a relationship between your weight and your height, that's even more of a range, just because like there's more of like a healthy range according to your BMI. So if it's any of these numbers that pop up, great. If it really gets down to it, and not a whole lot of situations with someone's heart health do they struggle with like, okay, it's really going to matter whether you're 150 versus 149 and things like that. And so I wouldn't worry about that too much until maybe you're getting down to the really nitty gritty. And if your doctor recommends it, then go for it. Definitely take what a doctor says over me. But that is your ideal body weight calculator. Super easy, something you can just input, make sure it's a good website, and you can go from there and just kind of check to see how you're doing. Smoking and secondhand smoke. the first thing I would ask someone with this is it within your control? And this kind of goes on like walking the line of scope of practice here. So I am not someone who's certified to work with someone with severe addictions. If smoking is just something that's a social habit, or it's something that you know is bad for you, but you feel like you have a control on it, but you still just kind of want to stop, that would be something sure to see a health coach about. But if it's something where you feel like the addiction has a real grip on your life, you're smoking a lot, to a very, very concerning point a day, that would be something where I would refer a specialist, an addiction specialist. And because that is out of my control, that I cannot help that person, nor will they receive the help that they need properly in order to take care of this. But I would ask, is the smoking or secondhand smoke exposure something within your control? Especially with secondhand smoke, sometimes it's family that we live with, sometimes it's friends. And it's like, what can we control about that and what can we not? Again, this link right here, again, it's the same website, same Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. This is going to give you a lot of resources on how to quit smoking. For example, there's a phone number to call, talking to a specialist, things like that. So definitely use that if you need to. Go looking for that. Super easy to find. But that is kind of what I'll leave with that there. But again, either smoking, yes or no. There's benefit to no. There's a con to the yes. And so yeah, just figuring out where can we go from there with that particular factor in improving our heart health. For healthy cholesterol and blood pressure levels. So just a couple of points here. It's good to get an annual physical where it can be checked. Your blood pressure can be checked. There's also different health clubs and gyms that sometimes have a do-it-yourself station for checking your blood pressure, and also grocery stores, pharmacies, things like that. You can even Google where those stations are if you'd like to go do that yourself and not go see your doctor. I still recommend a physical, always. But the general recommendation for your cholesterol getting checked is every 4 to 6 years, and that's blood work. So you're not going to be able to do that yourself. Please don't do that yourself. But it's even more often, it's recommended that even more often you get it checked, your cholesterol, if high cholesterol runs in your family. And so that's just something that you would know, or you can ask your family members about. With this, I will say that with blood pressure and cholesterol, if we're going through these things and you're thinking, oh my gosh, yeah, my cholesterol and my blood pressure are really bad, they really need to be in control. Okay, that's great, but it wouldn't be a goal that I would set my sights on. That's going to be like a secondary thing that's going to happen. So if you start to take steps to improve your diet, the cholesterol and the blood pressure are naturally going to improve. This wouldn't be something where like I would be like, okay, set your sights on a lower blood pressure. It's like, well, what do? It's all about diet and exercise, right? And we just went through that. But just so you know the numbers for blood pressure, a normal one is lower than 120 over 80. High blood pressure is at least 130 over 80 or higher, and there's different stages to that as it keeps going up. And then that elevated blood pressure is anywhere between the normal and the high, so like 125 over 80, for example. Again, this is good to know. This is definitely good to check, especially as you get older. Things as you get older just kind of get a little harder to avoid. So even if you're doing all the right things, sometimes people still just have high blood pressure. So definitely know if that's an issue for you, and take steps if you can towards improving that. Moderate alcohol intake. What is moderate in this sense? People are really disappointed if they don't already know these numbers when I tell them. So buckle up if you would like. But a moderate amount of alcohol means 1 drink or less in a day for women and 2 drinks or less in a day for men. And this is because generally men tolerate alcohol easier than women. There's different metabolic processes going on in a man versus a woman's body. And that's not to say that some women are going to have a higher tolerance than some men. It's the same thing of like, well, men tend to be faster and stronger generally. Well, there are some women out there that can run faster than some men. And so there are always exceptions, but that's this is a general rule here. Obviously, drinking less is always better for your health, right from the resource. I think we kind of all knew that. I don't think I need to really explain why it's healthier. But a lot of people ask once they hear that 1 and 2 drink rule, they're like, okay, well, what's a drink? And so there is actual guidelines. So a bottle or can of regular beer, so that's 12 ounces there. A glass of wine is 5 ounces. It's not pouring it all the way to the top. That's probably a few drinks at that point, but it is 5 ounces. And then a shot of spirits. So gin, rum, vodka, anything like that. It's 1.5 ounce equivalent there. So usually people get like an ounce or 2 ounce for that. but is 1.5 ounces for one drink. And so, again, this is something where if you think it's a problem, if you know it's a problem, it's got to be something important to you to change. It's a super easy, like, not super easy quick fix, but it's something where it's like, well, you either drink it or you don't, and there are benefits and downfalls to the respective ones. But I will say, like, if this isn't something that is important to you, if you don't think it's a problem or you don't think you need to change it, then I mean, it's kind of a lost cause with making a goal for it. Definitely focus on other things that seem to be more important or more urgent to you. That is what I will say there. And then if this is something that comes down the road where you think maybe I should try this, then okay, great, go for it. But I will always say, especially when it comes to this subject, if it's not important to you, if you don't think it's a problem, then it's kind of useless talking about. It's definitely better to focus more on the things that matter to you, the things that you want to change. And so that's all I'll say about that. And then how do I manage stress? What the heck is this? I'm going to go out of order here with this and go down to the last point. There is a stress management workshop on Be Well that I also did. Goes a lot more into all of this stress management subject. And so dive on into that, hop on over there if you'd like, and let me know if you have any questions or email me. But now I'm going to go back up to the list. A couple of things that I, do to in general before I know them a little bit more. Finding out the problem, right? If we've got a really bad smell in our kitchen going on and we just keep Febrezing every single day, the problem's still there, right? If the cheese is going bad in that fridge, you got to get rid of the cheese. And covering up the smell with Febreze doesn't fix the problem. So what is the problem? We got to find it out in order to know how to fix it and what to do from there. Is it a short or long-term stress? There is a difference. Short is when you can tell me right here, like, yep, this is stressing me out, but it's going to be done next week. Long-term is maybe you know there'll be an end to it, or maybe you don't. But if you know that there'll be an end to it, it is still quite a ways away. And that is something that we would address a little bit more. For example, tiny children. That's a lot of what clients come to me with. Not all the time, but it's a pretty easy example of kids are little, and we know it's not forever. They grow up eventually, but having those littles in your life, a lot of pros to it, obviously, but sometimes it really affects other areas of your life, and then there's this overall stress that starts. And so with long-term stress, it's like, okay, well, like, we can't get rid of the kids. Don't do that. But let's, as this time passes, as they grow up, what are some other things that we can tackle here? Now that we know this is long-term stress, is it within your control or out? That is the number one question I always ask them. And sometimes they realize it's within their control, and then clients all of a sudden are like, oh, this is in my control, which means I can fix it this way. And that's great. I figured that out. Okay, I'm going to go do that. Sometimes it just helps to get out of your own head. And so that's why I asked that question, because it feels so like overbearing to us. We really like maximize a lot of things when we keep them inside, but knowing if it's in your control or not is very powerful to know and realize. And then all the W's and the H's, that's who, what, when, where, why, how. Again, kind of going back to finding out the problem. If you don't know what it is, who it is, how it's happening, when it's happening, where, stuff like that, you have to know. And so again, ask those questions for yourself, or again, reach out to me and we can kind of like do a little eval with that. And that's just what I use to get to know people more and to get to know the problem more. Because again, the more information we know about the stress, the better chances we have of tackling it with a goal or a plan in mind. And so yeah, that is what I'll say about that. But that is all for the 7 points of managing your stress, or sorry, of lowering your risk for heart disease, improving your heart health, however you want to look at it. Those are the 7 points that were made and the ones that we're going to stick with. So where to start, right? Pick only one thing and go from there. I said this earlier in the workshop. I'll say it again, and I'll probably keep saying it for the rest of my career, because everyone thinks they can do it and they can do more than one thing, but just try one thing. Try one thing and see how it goes. If you kill it, great. Set an end goal and then pick a new thing at the end of that 1, 2, 3 month mark. Start with something tangible, something that can take one action to change. So like I said, the blood pressure and the cholesterol, although it's good that you want to change that, there aren't tangible, you can't just say that you want to change it and then it's going to improve. You have to do something about it, but it's going to play into other things. So your diet, your exercise, smoking, things like all the other factors we talked about. Start with something tangible, not just like this idea of like, well, I'm going to lower my blood pressure. And then reach out for a consultation or questions if you have any at all. My email is right there. I love doing virtual consultations. I love talking and expanding more on topics with people. My workshops are always very broad because, again, I don't know who I'm talking to. So this is the consults are always a really great time to get really personal about it. Again, it's tailored to you and you only in your life. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out if needed. And then that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. And I hope you learned something. I hope you learned at least one thing, something maybe that you're going to do for yourself, maybe something that you're going to tell a friend. But I always just hope that my time with you is beneficial and educational, and that you leave feeling a little bit more empowered, a little more knowledgeable about what to do to, take control of your own life. And so with that, I will let you go. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next time.